Hello, friends. David Miller here in my new studio, Primordial Creative, still in Chandler, Arizona, suburb of Phoenix. I have a topic that is not one of my favorite topics to talk about, but it's something that's come up over and over and over and over. I would say 12 years that I've been a photographer, but probably since the dawn of time as far as photography is concerned, and that is how to spot a shady photographer. I have known far too many models who have been assaulted, trafficked, drugged, raped by photographers, or should I say, people with cameras. And it is not something that is likely to go away. Bad behavior will always remain. But also in my time as being a photographer, I've noticed a lot of the same key ingredients to these dudes. And I'm going to say dudes because I honestly don't know of any female photographers who have assaulted models. I'm sure it's happened before, but we're just going to focus on the guys because by far that's the majority of the bad behavior. So these are things that I've noticed, and also things that some of the memes that go around on how to spot a shady photographer talk about. So number one thing I notice in almost all of these guys is that they put themselves out there like this is a great time, they're a super genius, and it's a party to shoot with them. And what I mean by a party is that they feature drugs, drinking as elements of their shoots. If you were to follow their Instagram pages and look at their Instagram stories, that's stuff that they feature in there as well. And, to a certain demographic of young models who think that model shoots are the most fun thing in the world, incorporating that with other fun things like drinking and drugging is just natural to them. But when you think about it, if someone's putting themselves out there as a professional, professional anything, professional roofer, plumber, copywriter, president, whatever, they don't promote a party atmosphere to what they do. And when you are making artwork, creative stuff, even if it's just content for a site like OnlyFans, as much fun as you want to have on these things, you're there to make the images. When it's a party atmosphere, I have to say, that's when making images is secondary, and that's where a lot of the bad behavior begins. Speaking of party atmosphere and sort of talking about how great it is to shoot with them, when I worked in a camera store, one of the first model photographers I met was a guy who came in with a very arrogant attitude about the girls that he shot with. And when I looked at his work, it was all Lolita type stuff. And Lolita meaning very, very young looking girls, sometimes adult women made to look like underage girls. And, Lolita is a classic novel from Russia. Never read it myself, never seen the movie. Have no interest in doing so, but anyone with the mentality that our goal in pictures is to make these girls look as young as possible, that's awful. It's just straight up awful. And I applaud things like the new Borat movie, exposing Rudy Giuliani and people like that for being scum because of the mentality that's appropriate or okay to de-age girls to the point where they're not even adults anymore and portray them sexually in photos. So Lolita style photography is another example of this guy's super shady. Now, this is kind of like contrasting things. I think an obvious lack of quality of work or hyper retouching, meaning that they go overboard with the processing of the images. Those two things work together to tell me that photographer's pretty shady. Obvious lack of quality, meaning They went out and bought a camera as a means to meet girls. They did not go to college. They didn't take it in high school. They haven't studied or, go to museums and galleries or look at fashion magazines or wherever you're going to find quality photography. They've taken none of those steps to improve their artwork. It's just, I have a camera and the girls will come through the door, or I'm just going to write them until I get people who will be naked in front of my camera. The hyper retouching stuff, I'm not really sure where that comes from. I just know it's a feature in a lot of the guys who are really bad and shady. And it's possible it's because there are people who have money and they farm their work out to like retouchers in other countries. I get those emails all the time, especially on old sites like Model Mayhem, where it's like a steady stream of people in Eastern Europe and Russia writing saying they'll retouch my images for blah, blah, blah. And actually, in my mind, a heavy retouch is an obvious lack of quality of the images. Their social media atmosphere that I've noticed on the shady photographers, they either talk about what a super genius they are, like Wile E. Coyote, or they blow kisses to the models who write in the comments. They might actually call them like pretty, babe, whatever. They're just very flirty in the commentary. And look, man, I met my wife of 19 years on a photo shoot, so I understand attraction between photographers, models, and how this is like a social circle. It's not just an art-making circle. But this is like bad behavior in public, and a lot of the models that I know personally tell me straight up they don't feel comfortable with this stuff going on, where somebody hired them or traded with them for a shoot, they got the images back, everything was copacetic, and then they're being told that they're lovely by someone who's 2 to 3 times their age and having kissing emojis blown at them. It's just kind of odd and creepy. And if you're a professional person, even if you're going to engage in a relationship with somebody that you're creating with, you know better than to put that stuff out there if you genuinely are a professional person. Speaking of social media, one thing that is just bizarre to me, but it's emblematic in almost all of these dudes, is that they have a really high following count. They do things like sub for sub, follow for follow. And, I am not immune to trying to garner as many followers as I could get. In the past, I even bought followers once, which was a big mistake. But when someone is following 3,000 other accounts, when they're following 5,000 other accounts, that's not normal. And that's a sign of somebody who either doesn't know what they're doing, is shady. It's just like not a quality level person that you should be engaged with or creating with. So off the top of my head, those are the big signs that you're dealing with somebody who's shady, whose intentions are not pure, so on and so forth. Again, they are not in and of themselves evidence that this person is guilty. It just might be evidence that this person doesn't know what they're doing, or that they're new to the game, so on and so forth. And you know what? That's not a crime in itself either. Furthermore, somebody who is a manipulator, abuser, all these things, they might have gone to art school. They might be really good at what they do. They might, not have huge following counts. They might make quality work. They still could be shady. That's why it's good to kind of ask around, get references. Also recognize that, it's sad to say, no matter who they are, no matter how bad they are, they're going to have people who defend them, who think they're the greatest things in sliced bread, so on and so forth. You just got to watch yourself, is all. Use your intuition, research them. I'm kind of happy I have this YouTube channel because people get to see me talk and, know my affect on here. And I think it's pretty genuine, I'm happy to have this YouTube channel and be able to speak to these things because I've had models in the past too, actually. But I totally understand anybody who wants to bring an escort or so on and so forth. They want to have extra precautions when they go to any shoot, including the ones that I'm part of, because you hear these stories over and over again and it never seems to stop. Protect yourself. We're all here to make art and have a good time. But more than anything, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching. Talk to you next time.